Hello everybody, how we doing today? Today we are going to be participating in a heart rate lesson. Okay, so directions are pretty simple. You're just going to click through this slideshow here and follow the directions. Okay, so step one, watch. You're going to click to the next slide and watch the very short video on heart rate and answer the questions as they appear throughout the video. Okay, so that's going to look like this. It's a 2-minute 20-second video, and you'll see 5 different questions appear as the video is playing. You'll need to answer those questions correctly before the video will continue. Okay, make sure you're paying attention. Moving on. Step 2, read. You're going to click to the next slide and you're going to read the short article. It's from the American Heart Association, and it's just about the basics of heart rate. Okay, so that'll help you form your understanding of the basics. All right, that looks like this. I'll show you what the article looks like. It's not very long. Okay, here we go. Easy read, it'll take you a couple minutes. Okay, that's all it is. Moving on. Step 3, this is where you're going to start doing stuff. Click through the remaining slides and follow the directions on each slide, okay? You will want to grab a pencil and paper right now, alright? There's a bit of math coming up, and a bunch of terms that you'll need to stay organized with, okay? And you'll see what I mean in a second, alright? And finally, the last step, you will be finished when you get to the last slide and you complete the last slide. It is a Google form, and it's called the Personal Heart Rate Data Form. And make sure you fill that out accurately because you'll be getting the results as well, and you want that to be accurate, okay? So, in your notes on your pencil and paper, the first thing you're going to want to do is recreate this table here on the bottom left corner, okay? You don't really need to know what all these words mean yet, alright? But it is important that you write down these terms, because there's going to be a bunch of numbers that you're going to be calculating in a second. One number for each of these, okay? And if you don't have them labeled, it's going to get really confusing. First thing you're going to do is calculate your resting heart rate. Important that your body is completely rested and relaxed, okay? So if you were chewing some food or talking to a friend or anything that's not completely rested and relaxed, you'll need to just chill for a second, alright? Breathe. Let your heart rate slow down to its resting rate, right? So once you're completely rested and relaxed, use your right index and middle fingers. It looks like that, okay? Or it looks like that, okay? And feel for your pulse under your jawline or under your left wrist, okay? So if you've done this before, you might be able to find it really quickly. If you've never done this before, it might take you a second, okay? Be patient. Make sure you're using those index and middle fingers, all right? And try to make sure you feel that pulse real strong before you start your timer and you start counting, okay? Once you feel the pulse, you're going to count how many pulses you feel, okay, while using a timer for 60 seconds. It's going to be a lot easier if you have a friend or a family member, if you're able to find somebody to help you keep track of time. That way you could just close your eyes and count the pulses, okay? And they'll tell you when to start and when to stop after 60 seconds. Okay, the number you counted is your resting heart rate in beats per minute. Okay, so now you're going to write down what that number was. Back to your notes. See, you remember when we wrote down this table? Write down your resting heart rate right there, okay? Moving on, next slide. Okay, now you're going to calculate your maximum heart rate using your age, all right? Okay, your maximum heart rate is simply the number 220 minus your age. I gave you a little example here. So if I'm 21, which I'm not, but if I were 21, my maximum heart rate would be 220 minus 21, which is 199. Okay, so you're going to calculate that depending on your age. Okay, moving on. Now, next, you're going to calculate your heart rate reserve. It's not really so important what the definition of heart rate reserve is, okay? But all that you need to know is you are going to need this HRR for our next formula, okay? So go ahead and you'll follow the formula, all right? You'll take your max heart rate, which you just got from the last slide, and it's written down in that table. You'll take your resting heart rate, which you got from the previous slide, okay? And you subtract the resting from the max. That equals your HRR, okay? And we're gonna use that on our next formula. Okay, I'm gonna go back a few slides just to remind you. Remember, you should be writing these numbers down in your notes. Okay, moving on. Here's HRR. Moving on to the next slide. Now, using your HRR, which you just calculated, and your resting heart rate, which you first calculated, calculate your target minimum heart rate using this formula. All right, so you're going to take your HRR and multiply it by 0.5, and then you're going to add your resting heart rate. That number is your target minimum heart rate. Write it down in your notes. You are going to do a similar formula now and calculate your intense target heart rate. All right? So this time you take your HRR and you multiply it by 0.85, and then you add your resting heart rate. That number is your target intense heart rate. Okay? Make sure you write down both of those numbers in your notes. Moving on. Your target heart rate is how fast you want your heart to be beating to achieve cardiovascular exercise. Experts say you should aim to be at your target heart rate for at least 20 minutes to achieve a good workout and to start to burn calories. Okay? So you just calculated your target heart rate range. Okay? What do I mean by that? Your target minimum heart rate, which you just calculated on the last slide, is the low end of the range. Your intense target heart rate is the high end of the target heart rate range, okay? So, for example, your numbers will look different, but I'm just giving you an example. For example, if my target heart rate minimum is 121 and my target intense heart rate is 162, my target heart rate range is the range of 121 to 162 beats per minute, okay? And then you can't see the bottom there, but it says, I should check my pulse when I'm working out to make sure I'm in that range, right? Have you guys ever seen somebody working out or somebody running, somebody at the gym, there we go, who's feeling their wrist, they're feeling the pulse on their wrist? That person is taking their workout super seriously, and they want to make sure that their heart rate is at least in their target heart rate range, so they are getting a sufficient workout. Okay, last but not least, you are almost there, people. Last step, you're going to click to the next slide, and that's going to take you to the Google form, and you will fill it out, okay?